And welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Wednesday, July 27, 2005. City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Colleagues, the time is now 10:15 a.m. and we have 8 members present, 2 shy of a quorum. We do expect a quorum momentarily, but we also have a few presentations scheduled for today. Let's begin today's meeting by recognizing Councilmember Greuel.
And I'm joined, Mr. President, by my esteemed colleague, Councilmember Dennis Zine, who chairs Personnel Committee and who I've had the pleasure of serving with in the last 2 years. Today, we're very pleased to acknowledge some of our city departments. Many of you know that we challenge our departments to provide basic city services. We challenge them to manage the city. But we're here today to recognize that these departments have done an extraordinary job. Particularly 13 departments from the City of Los Angeles who have exceeded our goal of reducing workers' compensation costs. And Councilmember Zine and myself and many of you on the City Council were very active almost 2 years ago that we went up to the state legislature, had the support of this council to say we must do something about the rising workers' comp costs, not only for businesses throughout the city, but particularly even the City of Los Angeles. So with the passage of Senate Bill 899, which instituted significant reforms for California's workers' comp system, the City of Los Angeles became even more focused on controlling workers' comp costs and fraud. The city ended the fiscal year with a $30 million savings. I want to say that again, a $30 million savings, or 20% of its budgeted amount. This amount has been returned to the general fund for more police officers, more firefighters, more streets repaired, you name it, the things that we feel are critically important in the City of Los Angeles. And that $30 million is an extraordinary accomplishment. But we could not have done it without the leaders of these various departments. And so today we would like to recognize and thank the departments that reduced its new claims well beyond the 5% mandated and its IOD salary continuation by 10%. And the Personnel Department for its administration of the new programs that made this possible. Maybe before we both have the departments, so I don't know if we want to split them and say, you want to say, yeah. Do you want to say a few words and then we'll acknowledge the departments? How does that work for you? Okay.
That's fine. Thank you, Wendy. The goal, obviously, is to provide more services to the people of Los Angeles. We do that by having the personnel out there to do the activities. And I know coming from the police department, the IOD situation, when officers are hurt, the fire department, public works, all the issues that take place with injured on duty, this is a tremendous effort by the employees of the city, the supervisors, the managers, for the City of Los Angeles to return that amount of money to the general fund, which means more services for the people, more streets paved, more police officers, firefighters, across the board. So congratulations to all and those departments that achieve that, and hopefully next year, the other departments that aren't on this list will come around and make that accomplishment, reduce the work comp cost, providing more services to the people of Los Angeles. So with that, let's begin the ceremony.
I know we want to quickly introduce Bruce Wyden, who's the Public Information Director from Personnel, and I think I saw Maggie Whalen as well, who could come up and say a few words as well.
Good morning, members of the council. I just want to say that the Personnel Department is delighted that we were able to work with the city departments in saving the amount of money that we did. And Councilmember Gruhl, I would never correct you in public, but I think under the circumstances I missed, it was $35 million.
Okay, well, good.
Staff wrote down 30, so staff is going to...
Okay, so we'll talk to staff. In any event, all of the members of the Personnel Department's Workers' Compensation Division are here today, and if they would stand.
Take a bow, take a bow.
Yeah, wow. Woo.
All those folks are the Work Compensation Division,
Yes,
but then again, we have 40,000 city employees, so we need to have people following up.
that's right.
That's a lot of people.
That's right. But I'm very proud of them. They've done a terrific job, and thank you both very much. And I have a presentation that I would like to make to you, Councilmember Gruhl, and you, Councilmember Zine, in appreciation for the support that you showed the Personnel Department. Thank you. And
Our own little star.
it's a star, that's right. But it's got the wrong.
It's got 30 million.
But I really
I just want to say it says 30 million on here, but I'm glad we got 35 million, so we'll make that change. And I know Bill Fujioka particularly is smiling at the amount of money we've saved, so thank you for your leadership and your staff who went up with me when I went to Sacramento as we lobbied various elected officials and were quite knowledgeable and effective in their leadership on that. So thank you very much to the Personnel Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Maggie. Bruce, you want say something too, Bruce? Okay. So,
Bruce is the quiet man in the back, doesn't want to speak yet.
okay, so we would like to acknowledge those departments that are present here, and we actually have proclamations. We will take pictures in the back. But our first department, alphabetically, is our Animal Services Department. New claims were down 5%, IOD down 38%, and I think Gordon Stuckey is here as well.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Let's give a great round of applause for Animal Services.
You want the pictures too? Come on, let's do it. Wendy, grab on. We'll do some more in the back.
Our next department is the Controller's Office. New claims reduced 78%, IOD down 91%. Controller's not here, okay. We'll give them a round of applause anyways. The next is Convention Center. New claims down 13%, iOS down 90%. And I see, is George Rakes here?
George is here.
Great. Let's give them a great round of applause as well.
Morning, Church. How are you? Let's all gather around. Come on in, clutch tight.
Okay.
Here we go. Thank you very much. We'll do photos in the back also.
Great. Our next department is the Cultural Affairs Department. New claims reduced 64%. And I think we have Margie Reese and Ray Bacara.
The GM herself.
Our next department is the Office of Finance. New claims reduced 25%, IOD down 47%. And we have Antoinette Cristoval, and Captain and Joy Oria. Great. Congratulations. All right, thank you. Fire Department. Sworn personnel claims down 10%, civilian claims down 12%, Sworn IOD down 15%, and civilian IOD down 43%. The Fire Department is represented by, Chief Bamatri and the whole gang. So let's give them a great round of applause, the Fire Department.
All right, let's gather around for the photo. Hop in. Here we go.
Great.
We'll do photos in the back when we're done, so stick around. Library.
Next department is Library. New claims reduced 27% and IOD down 91%. Looks like Alonzo Clark and Jim Kerr and a number of other people here today. Our next department is the Library Department. Nope, we just did Library, sorry. Police Department. Sworn personnel claims down 16%, civilian claims down 15%, sworn IOD down 11%, civilian IOD down 23%. And we have representatives from the Police Department that are here today. Let's give them a great round of applause.
Oh, Jim McDonald. Hey, Jimmy. All right, everybody jump on in here. Slide in. Thank you for this. The more uniforms, the more smiles. We'll do both.
I clean up okay.
You do clean up okay.
I want to make this look good here.
Yeah.
Got all these good-looking people in Class A's.
We'll do photos when we're done in the back.
Okay, great. Great, thanks a million.
Our next department is Recreation and Parks Department. New claims down, reduced 13%, IOD down 41%. And I think we have Robert Jensen and Norma Gutierrez. Oh, right there.
Good morning.
Our next department, we have 3 bureaus. We'll go first with the Public Works Bureau of Sanitation. New claims down 10%, IOD down 16%. And we have, I think, Cynthia Stafford and Michelle McManus.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Next is the Public Works Bureau of Street Lighting. New claims have been reduced 28%, IOD down 71%. Public Works Bureau of Street Lighting. And how are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Like a happy lit family.
Next is Public Works Bureau of Street Services. New claims down 9%, IOD down 27%. And we are represented by Bill Robertson, Nazario Sacido, I think, Abraham Tejeda, Sandra Wallace. Hey, Bill.
So you just walking in, you made it.
And last, but not least, our wonderful zoo, Los Angeles Zoo. We are represented by John Lewis, the zoo director. New claims are down 9%, IOD down 27%. Excuse me, that was the Bureau of Works. Actually, new claims reduced 34%, IOD down 96%. So we're very happy with John and the rest of his staff. Hey, John. Hi. Good to see you.
Grab on, slide in.
Someone shorter than me, I like that.
And we'll do photos in the back so they'll go on. Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, great. We have a representative from Cultural Affairs that we actually mentioned.
Margie,
But Margie's here. She got that.
yeah,
Sorry, I was looking at controller.
there's your boss.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and colleagues. We hope next year to similarly reduce the amount of costs for workers' compensation to balance the needs of our employees, which we think are very important to address when they have been injured on the job, but also to make sure we have appropriate training and go against any fraud in the city of Los Angeles. But $30 million can make a big difference in the city, and it's with the leadership of my colleague, Councilmember Dennis Zine, as Chair of Personnel, that this has also been made possible. So thank you.
Wendy, it's $35 million.
It's $35 million. Thank you, Mr. President. And for the departments that are here, we're going to try and take some pictures in the back. Is that correct?
yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
If all the departments received on their police meters in the back, we'll do some photos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it'll take a second to have a lot of these folks clear out. But for our next presentation, I want to recognize Councilmember Smith.
The back for the photo op.
Ready? Thank you, Mr. President. Today is the beginning of a very important month for Los Angeles Police Department, and I have with me Councilman Zine and Councilman Weiss.
Zine. Forgot your
Zine, I forgot it. Chairman of the Public Safety Committee. I'd ask Chief McDonald and Lieutenant Miller to also join us, and Maggie Whalen, please, to come forward. We're going to start off the presentation today with a very special new video, which we want the council to see, that's going to be airing on television beginning today. So ITA, if you'd please.
City of Los Angeles. When duty calls, the LAPD responds.
911 emergency.
I need help. My daughter's missing.
How old is your daughter?
She's 4 years old.
We have a critical missing. There is an Amber Alert, so let's look for any information you get. Pass that into the watch commander. Let's be careful out there.
Look at your daddy.
Become a part of the team. Visit us at joinlapd.com.
That's great. Thank you very much. This is the beginning of August, which is LAPD Recruitment Month. And it's very important for Los Angeles Police Department, probably more important than any time in recent memory, and that this council took the action last year to authorize the hiring of 720 new police officers during the coming year. To do that, we will be interviewing 1,500 potential men and women to become Los Angeles police officers every single month. And that requires a humongous effort on the part of our personnel department, on the personnel of the Los Angeles Police Department, to see that we have qualified personnel to put in 60 academy recruits every single month in our Los Angeles Police Department Academy. It's a tremendous responsibility on their part. It's also very hard to get through this academy that takes 1,500 people to get 60 qualified candidates. So with me today, I'd like to introduce, first of all, Chief Miller, Lieutenant, wait, let's start over again. Lieutenant Miller, no, we're going to start with the chief. We're going to do this right. Chief McDonald, on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, talk a little bit about what it takes to become a Los Angeles police officer and what we're going to be doing in the coming month. Chief?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilman. Just want to thank the City Council for acknowledging LAPD Recruitment Month, and also thank you for approving the budget that allows us to hire 720 new recruits in the next fiscal year. We've come before you time and time again talking about how understaffed we are and how critical the need is to increase public safety in the city of Los Angeles, and you've heard our call and you've answered it. And 720 is what we can do maximum a year with 60 people in the academy a month, every month of the year. To balance that, then, we will probably lose about 400 due to a normal attrition in the next fiscal year as well, which gives us a net gain of about 320. And while that doesn't sound as good as the 720, it certainly is a tremendous help to the officers out there in the field. So we're very thankful that there's a focus on recruitment. I can't tell you what a good job this is, how proud I am to be a Los Angeles police officer and to be able to reach out to our community. We want to represent the community that we serve. In order to do that, we need all the help we can get to get the best and the brightest that are out there to be able to join the LAPD, to come down and take the test, go through the process. And it is a tough selection process, but it's worth it once you get there. It's a 7-month academy. You get out on the street and you have a truly rewarding career like few others. So I would encourage anybody who has an interest at all in law enforcement to look at the LAPD as a tremendous, and the city of LA as a tremendous employer, and to be part of that LAPD and city family. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chief. And the new chairman of the Public Safety Committee, Councilman Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thanks for making sure that we're here today to remind people in the city about this important drive and this important effort, and the example that Chief McDonald and the other men and women of the police department, the example that they've set for people in this community is by now well known, well established. It is something someone can do with pride. It's something someone can do with honor and with a great deal of dignity. I hope that this is a successful effort to encourage people to join the LAPD. And let's now hear from Maggie Whalen, the general manager of our personnel department, to tell us about her efforts and their efforts to encourage people to join the force.
Thank you, Councilmember. The Personnel Department is working very closely with the Los Angeles Police Department in our effort to improve our recruitment. LAPD is our partner in this respect, and we are very happy with the support that we've received from the council in relation to keeping our positions filled. So I want to thank you for this recognition, and we've got to go to work.
Let me also chime in and ask Mr. Rosendahl to say a few words.
Yes, Mr. President, for about a minute and a half, I was chair of the Public Safety Committee, and I might say that in that moment, I was tremendously impressed with the outreach for minorities, for women. And I say to people watching this, please, if you're a minority or a woman, this is your opportunity. And for us Anglos, us as well, who live in the city of Los Angeles, it would be great to join the ranks of the best police force in America. That's all. Thank you.
And we might point out that while Mr. Rosendahl was chairman of the committee, absolutely nothing went wrong and it ran great. So thank you for that. Thank you for your leadership. Finally, something that's near and dear to my heart also, I'd like to have Lieutenant Miller come forward. In addition to the 18 to 20,000 people we need to interview to hire those 720 LAPD officers, we also have openings for 1,500 reserve police officers, non-paid volunteers who give of their time, go through that same police academy, and give of their time to the city of LA and are rewarded with the opportunity to do good things in the streets. Lieutenant Miller representing the Reserve Coordination Section. Lieutenant?
All right. Let me do that. Thank you very much. Along with the regular sworn officers on our department, it's very important that we have the support of the community in the way of having members of the community become reserve officers. We have 3 different levels of reserve officers. They can be technical reserves, specialist reserves, and then field reserves. They do the same, as you know, they do the same type of duties that our regular officers do, but they don't get paid for it. Along with that, I'd like to add on to the general recruitment portion of it, and that is that to all the city employees that are watching this right now, we do offer an incentive program that if you recruit a candidate that is successful through the process, they make it to the academy, there's a $500 bonus for you. And I understand that right now that may be increased to $1,000. So that's something that I'd like to ensure that the employees of the city understand that, and as well as our officers that are on the department, they are also entitled to that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes?
Thank you.
I just rise and want to drop a seed in the minds of not only personnel but the LAPD, in that when we look at the makeup of our force and the folks we're trying to attract, a common trait in our society today is single parents. So the issue of child care for our officers and how we provide support systems could be another element that it makes it that much more inviting to join the LAPD. Many of our officers are single parents. Our ability to support them through child care is just something I wanted to express to you at this moment and be opportunistic. But again, these are elements that we can use as magnets, if you will, to pull people in and show them what a great city we are, what a great force that we have the necessary support systems for our men and women in blue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. And now the irrepressible Sergeant Zine, the cheerleader for LAPD.
Thank you, Mr. Hutch. Greg and I, both serving in the LAPD as reserve officers, know what it's all about. And people oftentimes wonder, is law enforcement exciting? Is it interesting? Stan Chambers, who we're going to hear from later, knows how the media business goes. Well, Greg and I can tell you how exciting law enforcement is. And we do our city council activities, and we also do the reserve activities. And we encourage people to join full-time, part-time. Eric Carr said you'd make a wonderful reserve. I can see you walking a footbeat down Hollywood Boulevard. Not with him. And we will make it work. The folks of Los Angeles have a community that they love, that they want to see improve, and this is a wonderful way to make that happen. I know my son's a police officer. He loves that job. Being a retired officer and a reserve officer, still giving back to the community. So any and all people, the LAPD Reserve's actively hiring, and you'll travel through different communities, Burbank, Pasadena, Glendale, you'll see they're recruiting police officers. When you want to join law enforcement, join the best, join the LAPD. Thank you.
That was the commercial. That was the other commercial I'm going to run. Chief, we're going to give you this resolution recognizing this is recruitment month, but LAPD recruitment goes on all year long. This is just the kickoff of our big push this year because we need 20,000 people to apply this year. We have weekly meetings and explanations of how to become a cop. and what it takes to become a police officer at LAPD. This is just kicking it off, but we need those people all year long. We need our city employees out there recruiting for us. This has got to be a team effort for all of us, because that 720 is going to be very hard to achieve. So let's kick this off. Let's go out and get those officers, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Where's the photographer from that?
You'll do photos back there.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to sign this too.
Okay.
Let's go back. Thanks. That's very nice.
And for our final presentation this morning, let me recognize Councilmember Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. When Stan Chambers found out that this was LAPD recruiting week, he wanted to come down and see if it wasn't too late for him to join up. So we'll make sure we keep a position open. But it's not often we get to honor somebody who, for all the people in this room, has literally told the stories of our lives here in Los Angeles. And not just that, who has set the standard for an entire brave new industry, a new world of television reporting. It gives me great honor on the eve of his honoring that is coming up very shortly at the Greater Los Angeles chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists, where Stan Chambers is going to be honored by them for his opus of work here in Los Angeles, making sure that we saw the tragedies, the triumphs, and everything else that happened here in Southern California. He's not only been reporting for 6 decades, nearly 57 years, he has spent all that time with one television station. And I think those maybe behind the cameras can appreciate, in an era where it seems like television reporters get traded as often as baseball players, that says a tremendous amount about his integrity, about his stick-to-itiveness, and about the belief that this community and his station has in him. Stan has covered literally everything: elections, floods, riots, fires, human tragedies, assassinations, triumphs, and those pictures of the human spirit that have uplifted us. His career with KTLA, now called KTLA/WB, began in December of 1947. My older mother, because she's a year older than my father, was 7 years old at the time. Shortly after, KTLA had become the first commercially licensed television station in the western United States, and it broadcast to every single television set in Los Angeles at that time, all 300 of them. He has reported more than 20,000 stories. Let that settle in. 20,000 stories. Sure, Mr. Coogan and others are working their way up to 20,000. It's just a matter of time, but that's maybe one of those records that's insurmountable. Every major natural disaster in 1947, in Los Angeles since 1947, including the Bel Air fires, the Baldwin Hills Dam break, the Northridge earthquake, and many others. He reported the Robert Kennedy assassination, Frank Sinatra Jr. kidnapping, the Manson family murder to Sharon Tate, and the case of the Hillside Strangler. And in his bio, it also says that the most memorable story that he reported was 1949, the Kathy Fiscus well tragedy that was broadcast live. In an era now where we take that for granted, and we have helicopters and everybody else to bring that sort of live coverage that we now take for granted, it was one of those first times that a human tragedy was brought into the living rooms of Angelenos and established that genre of reporting, that instantaneous reporting, and the way that it brought our spirits into that struggle at the same time for the first time. In addition, Stan has reported for KTLA's signature broadcast of the Tournament of Roses parade almost every year since 1949. And in 2002, the prestigious Tournament of Roses Association presented Stan with a special award for over 50 years of dedication to the Rose Parade broadcast excellence on KTLA WB. Mr. Smith and Mr. Parks and a few others will be glad to know that he's a Trojan as well. He's been honored with Emmys and Golden Mike Awards, the Sigma Chi Delta Broadcaster of the Year Award, the Governor's Award from the Television Academy, and nice in the 13th District, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which we're very proud and we keep as polished as we can. He also has journalism awards that are named after him that go to youth that are in our community to inspire the next generation of Stan Chambers. He has had countless awards, Los Angeles Press Club Award, Los Angeles City and County Proclamations, of which we will add this today, and from his alma mater, the USC Alumni Association Award. And more than anything, he had a building on the KTLA lot that's named after him. The Stan Chambers building sits on that lot where the first full-length motion picture talkie, The Jazz Singer, was filmed way back when. He is not only one of LA's most admired newsmen, he is one of LA's most admired citizens. As somebody who goes to work every day in the 13th Council District, we are tremendously proud of you. I know that you're here with your family, and there are many children, grandchildren, and now some great-grandchildren that form part of the Chambers clan. We also have Jeff Wald, who's the news director from KTLA as well. I don't know if you want to say a quick word before we hear from Mr. Chambers. Why don't you come up? But while he's doing that, why don't we give Stan Chambers a rousing round of applause for his service.
Mr. Rosendahl.
I'd like to, I'm the 11th district, and Stan Chambers and his lovely wife have 11 children. So I first want to acknowledge the 11 children, which I think is fantastic. I have come from a family of 8, and a big family gives great love and security to everybody. Secondly, having done 3,000 shows and 16 years of television myself, I can tell you I admire you for your integrity, your honesty, your credibility. You are our Walter Cronkite. God bless you for being here in Los Angeles. Thank you.
I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to have Stan Chambers on the staff at KTLA for so many years. I've known Stan over 30 years. I've been news director off and on at KTLA for 20 some odd years. And what the wonderful thing is we've been able to kind of pass that along because his grandson Jamie has become a reporter with us the last couple of years. So we're carrying on the legacy that Stan began way back in 1947. So congratulations, my friend, Stan Chambers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Chambers. Congratulations.
Councilman, thank you very, very much. That's just beautiful. Oh, that's quite an emotional thing to stand here and hear your life go by and different stories that you have done. And Gil, thank you so much for that. But can you imagine how lucky I am to be over at USC on the GI Bill in 1947 and hearing that a television station was adding program time, and I applied for a job and I got it. $1.25 an hour and time and a half for overtime. And it was just a great ride. And the thing that, looking back, it was the time when the City Hall was the tallest building in the city. We didn't have freeways. We've probably added several million of people who decided to come out here and put their lives with the rest of us here in LA. So, and all the changes that took place, to be able to be on the KTLA news team and see these changes taking place, and all the new cameras and all the videotape recorders and all of the helicopters and all the things that make covering news so much easier. So to have been a part of that as it grew, as it expanded, and to be there for 52 years is just unbelievable. I keep shaking my head. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. And I also enjoy being back here in the Los Angeles City Hall and feeling the electricity of this City Hall. It's really great. And all the battles that we witnessed here and all the things that have happened, and the city still just sails along, greatest city in the world, and we're all a part of it. But thank you again. I really appreciate this wonderful honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Chambers, please.
Thank you very much. I believe this concludes presentations for today's meeting. Madam Clerk, while Mr. Garcetti is preparing for his second presentation, would you please call the roll?
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session, and I'd like to dispense with consent items at this time. Madam Clerk, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Garcetti moves. Mr. Smith seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Zion moves, and Ms. Gruel seconds.
Mr. President, on the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearing, items 1 through 22, items 1 through 6 are street lighting ordinances.
Okay. Members, items 1 through 22 now before us, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Public hearings are open and closed. Let's take these in batches as well. Items 1 through 6 are ordinances. Do we have any requests for specials? Seeing none, let's open the roll on items 1 through 6. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are ordinances and carry over for second readings. Next, we should take items 7 through 15. Again, public hearings have been opened and closed. Any requests for specials? 7 through 15. Seeing none, then these items are continued to August 17th without objection.
Next items, Mr. President, I'm sorry, are the building and safety items, and the department has requested that items 16, 18, 19, 20, and 21 be received and filed inasmuch as the assessments have been paid.
Okay, any objection, colleagues? If not, let's open the roll on the recommendations, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those items are received and filed.
And also on item number 17, the department is asking that that be noted and filed inasmuch as there's been a change of ownership, and the department will proceed with another avenue to get the assessment.
Okay, any objection? Seeing none, let's open the roll on noting and filing that report. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
So ordered. Next item.
Item number 22 is also a public hearing item, and the applicant consents to a continuance to August 17th.
And without objection, that item is continued.
The next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 23 through 34.
Numbers 23 through 34, public hearings have been held in committee. A motion would be required to reopen the public hearings. Do we have requests for specials? Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Councilman. The item 24 special, please.
24, Mr. Parks.
Same item.
Mr. Cardenas.
Item 23 at the request of Councilmember Grohl.
Okay. 23 and 24 call special. Any other specials? That leaves items 25 through 34 on the desk. Let's open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 35 through 63. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Numbers 35 through 63 now before us, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Public hearings are open and closed. Do we have requests for specials? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Items 49 through 63 are approved. Items 35 through 48 are ordinances and carry over for second readings. And colleagues, I believe 64 is a closed session item. We'll hold that on the desk. And Madam Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, do you wish to take public comment up at this time?
Let's proceed now to general public comment for today's meeting. The clerk would please put up a clock. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on items within our jurisdiction but not appearing on today's agenda. Council calls forward Valinda Jo Wright, followed by Nick Pacheco and Phyllis Doherty, and our delegation from the South Central Garden.
Hello. Hi. I felt public comment was a more appropriate forum for my comment yesterday. Because I have a young cousin with 4 children under 8 that lives on 94th, I want to make this comment in an appropriate forum. Someone landed on bookstores like Plymouth Rock and replaced them with affirmative action busing for the 90s. Deuce Deuce Bigelow, the American gigolo, like the mafia, can drive by while we sit still with a still long walk home. Rosa Parks and MLK gave 63-year-old Miss Dolores Cole Anderson a seat at the front of the bus. Someone gave her seat to Nothing But Trouble, Mid-City, MS-13, and anybody else rolling. Somebody needs to give some books to 5-5 Neighborhood, Rockwood, Bedrock Crips, Easy Riders, and Schoolyard, so someone can stop the violence.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pacheco? Former council member Pacheco.
Council President, council members, I'm here to raise an issue that may not have been brought to your attention before, but I want to talk to you about the experiment in Council District 14, the appointment of a non-CLA person as caretaker for that district. Initially, we understand that there was a break in tradition. However, there's been some incidents recently that point to its failure. The first thing, which I'm not going to spend too much time on, is right after we had the celebration of a dog park opening in the district, a press release was issued by the caretaker's office and staff in CD14. This was wasteful, but not really annoying. We don't need cheerleaders in CD14. We need caretakers who are going to answer the phones, fill the potholes, pave the streets, and take care of the constituents. But more importantly, recently, we've had a great event, a number of great events, the Northeast Day of Service, for example. On July 8th, Jenny Carrion from CD14 issued a great package. And if you look at the flyer, and we gave you all copies, you will see that the original flyer said that Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa was going to host the Northeast Day of Service. And there was a Spanish flyer in the packet, there was a sign-in sheet for service volunteers, and there was an Excel spreadsheet, a worksheet for all the committee members to do their work and do their jobs for that day of service. I've given you a copy of the email. I have blackened out the whistleblowers, so I don't want you to think that that was done for any other reason, but the whistleblowers' names will be provided to ethics at the appropriate time. If you go onto the city website, Council District 14's flyer shows that the Northeast Day of Service is now a Council District 14 event with special guest Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I can't answer or explain how the mayor went from host to guest, but that is a change that occurred. And on the website, it's a PDF. And the reason that a PDF is important is because you cannot alter a PDF. Last week, a flyer was sent out from Laura Barrera, the Director of Governmental and Community Affairs for President of the Board of Education, Jose Huizar. And if you look at this flyer in your packet, you will see that it's now Council District 14 with special guest Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa and School Board Member Jose Huizar. The interesting thing about this flyer is not only that he's a candidate for CD14, but that the northeast part of the district is represented by School Member David Tukowski. Now, it's not clear if
Mr. Pacheco, if I can ask you to sort of wrap it up. We have other speakers waiting.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
It's not clear to us if the Council District 14 forwarded a Word document to the school board member's office or exactly how it was altered. But we're going to ask you, I am asking you, to go back to the tradition of having the CLA serve as caretaker. We don't want public resources being used for campaign purposes, and this really flirts with the line and clouds the issue, okay. And we're asking you to appoint a CLA as caretaker for CD14.
Okay, thank you very much. Phyllis Doherty is our next speaker.
Mr. President, I'd requested to be heard on item number 1 on the special counsel.
Okay, my apologies. Then our next group is from the South Central Farmers. If you would come forward. South Central Farmers. Maria Manuela Rivera, Elvira Rodriguez, Gregorio Sánchez, Alberto Rodríguez, Jesús Benítez Paniagua, Vanessa Acosta, Juan Jiménez, Elsa Molina, Julián García y Marta Chévez.
Okay. Okay, está bien.
Okay. Good morning, City Council and Ms. Perry. My name is Vanessa Acosta, friend of the South Central Farmers, whose biggest challenge is to create peace with the environment. Through education, I am here today to support them and to outreach and encourage each of you to come and visit the 14-acre garden and see how this wonderful garden is helping to feed their community, how they educate other families who have outside gardens, provide medicinal plants for teas. The local folks know that they can rely on the South Central Farmers, their local neighborhood garden, for seasonal vegetables, especially the folks who have diabetes, high blood pressures, kidney infections. They also create lotions and washes. They also provide fever reducers and cramp reducers. from natural products that Mother Earth has provided. I am very much inspired by a Nobel Peace winner, Dr. Mathai from Kenya, who started the Green Belt movement. She began this program to solve Kenya's most pressing problems that women confront every day: the shortage of nutritious food, fuel, clean water, and deforestation. Deforested land in Kenya had dropped from 30% to 2%. The shift from growing food for the local market to cash crops had exacerbated. These problems were quickly leading to an environmental crisis. Dr. Mathai encouraged the women that planting trees was a way out of poverty. With the motto of, quote, "one person, one tree," close quote, on behalf of the South Central farmers, I'm asking you, Ms. Perry, to take the lead and begin to fight for more urban gardens. And let's begin to create values that exhibit a profound respect for life, nature, and human society. Dr. Mathai's parents were farmers. She uses the word motanai, a Swahili word. Motanai, quote, embodies the spirit of respect for nature and using nature responsibly. Ms. Perry, by promoting urban gardens, we can educate other people, especially the younger generation. The future is now. The future for the young people is now. They need to understand. And also, by protecting the environment is a true key to humanities. Thank you.
Ms. Perry?
Do we have an interpreter for this, or I can interpret? Doesn't matter.
I would like our interpreter to stand and translate.
Okay. Ahorita viene el interpreter.
Stay over there, yeah. Yeah, you can stay there. It'll be easier if you stay there, and then I'll just say it. Just so that people understand, I have three
Para dejarles saber,
I have 3 gardens
tengo 3 jardines
in my district alone.
en mi distrito solamente.
2 of them are on Vermont.
2 de ellos están en Vermont,
Another one is near Slauson and Wall.
otros están en Slauson Wall.
They have been empty for
Han
2
estado
years.
vacíos por 2 años.
I have asked your leadership
Le he pedido a nuestro liderazgo
to tell you that,
que les diga a ustedes eso.
and I have written letters to the farmers whose addresses are on file.
Y he escrito cartas a los granjeros que tienen las direcciones y los nombres en nuestros archivos,
In Spanish and in English,
en español y en inglés,
inviting them
invitándolos a ellos
to please come
a venir,
to these 3 locations.
por favor, a estas 3 localidades.
They are empty now
Están vacíos ahora
and are available
y están disponibles
for anyone who is interested.
para cualquier persona que esté interesado.
Now, the last time I said this on
Ahora
the
bien,
mic,
la última vez que yo dije
on the microphone,
en el micrófono,
I asked my staff to follow up with you,
le pedí a mi personal que les escribiera a ustedes
and you went back to your leadership.
y ustedes regresaron a hablar con su liderazgo
You told my staff person you would have to check first.
y le dijo a mi personal, a la persona de mi personal, que ustedes tenían que verificar primero.
You say you want to continue to garden,
Ustedes dicen que quieren continuar
so
cosechando
I am telling you publicly again,
y les digo una vez más públicamente,
I have 3 gardens
tengo 3 jardines
that are under control of the city of Los
que
Angeles.
están bajo el control de la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
They are available now.
Están disponibles ahora.
Now, regrettably, they're not 12 acres,
Desafortunadamente no tienen 12 acres,
but there are 3 gardens available right now.
pero sí, en efecto, hay 3 jardines disponibles en la actualidad.
If you decide you are interested,
Si ustedes deciden que están interesados,
please feel free to call my office and let us know.
por favor llamen a mi oficina y déjennoslo saber.
I will make arrangements for you to take a look at those properties.
Yo
and
haré los arreglos necesarios para que ustedes puedan venir a ver esas propiedades.
Then you can tell us whether you would like to have some of the gardeners locate to those locations or not. And again, 2 of them are on Vermont.
Y ustedes nos dejarán saber si ustedes quisieran, algunos de sus jardineros quisieran venir a esas localidades o no. Una vez más, 2 de ellos están en Vermont
and one is on Slauson and Wall.
y uno en Slauson Wall.
And they are available today.
Y están disponibles hoy.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Muy buenos días, tengan ustedes. Mi nombre es Jesús Paniaguas.
Que tiene que hablar poquito a la vez para yo poder traducir a la medida que usted habla. Okay. Good morning, all of you. My name is Jesus Panaguas.
He venido porque en realidad yo no he recibido esa carta o no estoy enterado de eso.
I have come because I have really, truly not received that letter. I'm not aware of that.
Pero yo sigo con el pensamiento y con la súplica que nos sigan dejando.
But I continue with my thoughts and begging to please let us
Que nos sigan dejando cultivar la tierrita porque eso es lo único que podemos hacer nosotros. Somos unos campesinos
Let
que
us,
no tenemos parcela.
till the soil because we are farmers that do not have a parcel.
Entonces les ruego yo que por favor, a nombre de todas las personas que no vinieron por X motivo,
I am begging you that in the name of all the people who are not able to come for whatever reason,
nos sigan dando la oportunidad
You-
porque necesitamos la tierrita para sembrar, para cultivar.
you please do give us the opportunity because we still need those little parcels in order to sow.
Eso es todo lo que les puedo pedir. Humildemente les ruego que pongan atención a lo que uno les está pidiendo.
That is the most I can ask for, and humbly I ask you to please pay attention to what we are asking.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you for your passionate words.
Gracias por sus palabras tan apasionadas.
I feel and hear them deeply.
Las escucho y las siento muy profundamente.
The leadership at the garden may not have been able to give you that information
El liderazgo del jardín quizás no les pudo dar esa información a ustedes
because your name and address may not be a part of the official file.
porque sus nombres y direcciones quizás no son parte del archivo oficial.
I have always been concerned
Siempre he tenido la preocupación
that the members of the garden
que los miembros de los jardines
have had
de los
information disseminated
han tenido información que ha sido diseminada
in a manner that is not inclusive.
de una manera que no los incluye.
And that is why I'm speaking on the microphone and on camera for the public to hear.
Y es por eso que hablo en el micrófono y en la cámara para que el público pueda escuchar.
And for those gardeners
Para esos granjeros
who may not have been a part of the original group of people
que quizás no fueron parte del grupo original
who signed
de las personas que
the agreements with the food bank in 1992.
firmaron el acuerdo con los bancos de comida en el 1992.
But to make sure
Pero para asegurarnos
that you fully are aware
que ustedes tienen conocimiento completo
of the opportunities available to all of you,
de las oportunidades que están disponibles a todos ustedes,
at the next council meeting, I'm going to have a stack of flyers
en la próxima reunión del concilio voy a tener una tonga de hojas de información
in Spanish and English,
en español y en inglés,
and I will make sure that each one of you individually is given a copy of that flyer
y me aseguraré que cada uno de ustedes individualmente va a recibir una copia de esas hojas de información,
so that no one else can interpret the information on that paper.
para que no haya nadie más que pueda interpretarles a ustedes la información que aparece en esos papeles.
Thank you.
Gracias. Good morning, my name is Elvira Rodriguez.
Le agradezco su fina atención.
I am grateful for the attention, the kind attention you have shown me.
El motivo de nuestra venida
The reason for our coming here
es porque le queremos agradecer el que aún todavía estamos ahí,
is that we want to thank you for the fact that we're still there.
porque para nosotros es tan necesario
For us, it's necessary
seguir cultivando la tierra,
to continue to sow the soil,
porque de ahí tomamos nosotros todo lo que se da para nosotros todo eso es vital para para nuestra persona.
For us, this is vital for us, for our people.
Cultivamos ahí muchas hierbitas de diferentes que
We cultivate there several different herbs
nuestros antepasados nos han dicho
that our history,
podamos echar mano de las hierbas que Dios a nosotros nos ha
so that we can take the herbs that God has given us.
y de ahí tomamos para poder nosotros tomar varios tés de para diferentes cosas, para el dolor de estómago.
And we take those in order to drink several teas for several different things, stomach aches.
Los nopalitos nosotros los comemos en ensalada, diferentes formas.
We eat the nopalitos in salads in different ways.
Y quisiéramos que pues fueran tan amables pues de dejarnos la oportunidad de seguir cultivándolo.
And we would like for you to be so kind as to give us still the opportunity to cultivate that soil.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Sí. Ay, perdón.
Pardon.
Les suplico que si nos pudiera hacer el favor. Ahora va a haber una junta a las 6 de la tarde de asistir.
And we are begging you to come to our meeting that will take place at 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
A las 6 de la tarde, ahí en el jardín.
At 6 o'clock in the afternoon at the garden.
O si nos puede hacer
Gracias. Voy a pedir.
Or if you could be so kind as to send a representative, please.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to conclude at this time. Our time for public comment has run out for today. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 23, and that was called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
Actually, before we go back to the items called special, Ms. Gruhl has a motion for reconsideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is for CD 14. We have provided this to the city clerk, which was item number 13 from yesterday's agenda. I move that the City Council action of July 26, 2005, relative to the Valley Boulevard grade separation project be amended to replace recommendation 3 with the following recommendation: authorizing the LA Department of Transportation to submit an application to the California Department of Transportation and CPUC to receive $5 million in state funding for the grade separation, and to authorize the appropriation and transfer of those funds to the Transportation Grant Fund, number 655, account W803 Valley Boulevard grade separation phase 1 and 2, and further move that the following recommendation be added: to authorize the LADOT to receive $2.1 million from the Union Pacific Railroad, and authorize the appropriation and transfer of those funds to the Transportation Grant Fund, number 655, account W803 Valley Boulevard grade separation phase 1 and 2.
Okay. Let's first open the roll on reconsideration, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that matter is back before us. We have the amending motion articulated by Councilmember Gruhl. Any objection to the amending motion? Seeing none, let's reopen the roll on the item as amended, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. And actually, we do have one more presentation for today, if Councilmember Garcetti is ready.
One final presentation to make with your indulgence, colleagues. And if I could ask Mr. Glenn Dake to come over here for a second. We have a very important matter pressing. A familiar face around this horseshoe for the last 4 years has been Glenn Dake, who's been my green deputy or environmental deputy in Council District 13. He always said he would give us 4 years of his life. He's a licensed landscape architect, so if you all are looking for some good things, he'll be available to do that. And a leader from long before he came to Los Angeles City Council. I came to know Glenn on the Los Angeles Community Gardens Council, which Glenn chaired in helping the whole greening, as it's kind of fitting today, the whole greening of the city through the growth of community gardens, but also was an activist in Silver Lake with the Committee to Save Silver Lake's Reservoirs. And I asked Glenn to come work for Council District 13 and for our district, and he did. Friday will be his last day with the City of Los Angeles, at least in this incarnation. But I wanted to publicly honor his work and just walk through a couple things that happened under Glenn's watch, which not only helped the council district, but helped this entire city. In the council district, Glenn is a very familiar face. Working closely with CD4, we've finally taken the Silver Lake Reservoir, and we are revitalizing and building a jogging path, walking path around that famous part of the city. But even more than that, I asked Glenn, I said, don't tell anybody, but I have the goal of trying to double the number of parks in CD13 in the next 8 years. And I'd really like you to see what you can do to help that. Not only did Glenn deliver the double number of parks that we had when we started here 4 years ago, it happened in half the time that I had expected. And just at the end of our first term together, we cut the ribbon on our 15th new park. Last week we had our 16th new, and it just keeps going on and on because of the work that Glenn did. Glenn was a really important part of Proposition O as well, which will be one of his legacies. In his private time, he helped Jan Perry and me campaign on Prop O. He's somebody who stood up when very few believed that it was possible, showed up to those community meetings, showed up in places to tell people that we could have clean water in Los Angeles. But more than anything else, I think people will remember Glenn around here for his smile, for the way that he always was, he'd take on any project, no matter how big or small. He was able to maneuver and push things through the bureaucracy when needed. And I know that he has a lot of fans in the CLA's office, in our CAO's office, and in our departments for the amazing work that he has done. And just from the bottom of my heart, and I know all the folks from Council District 13 that are here today, Glenn, we are so sad to say goodbye. We know that you will be very close by in Silver Lake still and working very closely with us on so many different issues. And we had every member of the City Council and the Mayor and our City Attorney and City Controller, fellow Silver Laker, sign this resolution to thank you for your incredible dedication and work. Please give Glenn Dake a round of applause.
Thank you. Ms. Perry.
Say that I'm not sad he's leaving, I'm glad he's leaving. Because he'll have more time now to devote to the Garden Council. And that's good for the whole city. Glenn was instrumental in getting the Garden Council chapter started in Vermont Square in Council District 9. And you noticed I just referenced the 2 gardens on Vermont that are available that you helped Helen Johnson get started. And once she passed, the momentum for that garden has really, fallen by the wayside, and we've got to get it reinvigorated. So I'll be working him more than he ever worked before. But it's a big loss for you guys, and I know I'll see you soon. And congratulations.
Mr. Reyes.
Glenn, I just want to say thanks for all your hard work, your work around the Leisure Park Master Plan, working along the river. And I think you're one of the few people that truly understand what relief means to those families and children who have that green spot in their neighborhood. A lot of the kids, it sounds a little corny, but a lot of kids have a great sensation when you can feel the grass under their feet instead of asphalt and cement and all the hard substance that you find in the staircases and all these old tenement buildings where you find hundreds of kids essentially trapped in these buildings and have no relief. So you're one of those few individuals that I believe recognizes it and works hard to make those green spots occur. And thank you so much. And on behalf of all the kids and families, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very sneaky, council member. I wasn't planning to be heard today. It's been great working with everyone here, and I'd like to thank the residents of the 13th for providing a platform where this work could be done. It's really been a great ride, and I recommend this job to anybody who can get it. Activists, designer or other. It's a wonderful spot to be. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. And this concludes presentations for today's meeting. And colleagues, I believe Mr. Juan Jimena was not able to speak under general public comment. Let's reopen general public comment.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, President. Good morning, council members. I'm here because I heard Mr. Nick Pacheco made a presentation about the issue, and I would like to have the president and this committee here to appoint a CLA. It was very unfair what has happened to me. I'm a candidate of the 14th district, and yet Antonio Villaraigosa, our mayor, turns around and uses our CD14 for his benefit continues. When I registered here on Friday, the 22nd, I was the first one in line, first person here, and I was given a hard time simply because I was a SEPA 1 representative for the CAB. They were questioning the conflict. Second thing they were questioning was my role with Operation Yes and having an event on the weekend. A lot of questions were, and also the way the applications filled out. I was singled out from all the people, so therefore, they told me they would call me back in 3 hours and come back to pick up my petitions. I was cheated of 3 days because they did not call me as they stated. Furthermore, at the event of the 22nd through the 24th, I was not able to even put a name or a sign of my candidacy because they said it was a conflict of interest. Yet we find ourselves CD14 with the mayor doing these things and also inviting Huizar. You are the people, the city council here, are supposed to be making sure that everything is fair play all around. Unfortunately, why didn't Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa invite all the candidates, not only Huizar? I mean, let's face it, this is a political game that's going on here, and I feel very unfair treated by the city clerk, being missed out. So when I got my petitions Monday, the only reason for that is because they didn't want me to collect petitions during the event. Not only that, I wasn't even able to put up a sign or put a booth, and yet the neighbors were upset, and they put names of my candidacy running. And then I'm being told by CD14 that I'm walking in thin water or thin ice, thin line, and all that stuff, different remarks coming at me. And these were private properties. These signs were private property. So I appreciate that this president and the council appoint a CLA and go back to the old traditional way. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. This once again concludes general public comment for today's meeting. Madam Clerk, next item on the desk, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 23. That was called special by Councilmember Gruhl, and there is an amending motion that has been distributed to the council.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padilla. Colleagues, the item we have before you today is something that has been a clear problem in my council district and probably in many of yours. And as you know, I'm committed to preserving the quality of life and character of our neighborhoods. Some people have deemed it mansionization, and particularly in my community and the Sunland Tonga area that we have the item before us today, it oftentimes means large, featureless houses that overwhelm their next-door neighbor, that destroy the privacy of their next-door neighbor, invade the privacy of their next-door neighbor, and change the neighborhood character. There's not one solution to this. It's not one size fits all. This was a community-driven process where the community came to us and said, we have this problem. How can we work together to solve that problem? So it requires a very tailored approach, not a cookie-cutter approach. The proposal before you today, and this is very important, balances the property rights of an individual, but also helps to preserve the community's character. And as many of you know, we have existing building and safety laws and planning laws that protect our neighborhoods. I see this today as really a modernization of that code that regulates our height and setbacks of our particular residential areas and bringing our codes into the 21st century. In San Lintahunga, this is looking at a modernization or mansionization involves the construction of very large houses on small lots. Most of the lots in San Lintahunga are 4,000 square foot lots, and some people are building 4,000 square foot homes on those 4,000 square foot lots. As I mentioned earlier, creating this process has been a community-driven process, and I've worked closely with the San Lintahunga Neighborhood Council to create this interim ordinance. The Neighborhood Council's Design Advisory Committee and my staff have spent several months defining the problem and fashioning a carefully measured solution. This ICO addresses the issues of San Lintahunga specifically. It's also not about legislating aesthetics or taste. The ICO limits the square footage of a residential structure to 40% of the lot area, but it also allows an individual to build at least a 2,400 square foot house. The motion that you have before you, so the amending motion, clarifies this point. It's been suggested that we were limiting it to 2,000 square foot, and that is not the case. It is either 40% of the lot area, or it can be 2,400 square feet, whichever is greater. It also limits the structure to 2 stories, not the height, but 2 stories. And since the basic purpose of the ICO is to regulate the size of structures on smaller lots, it applies only to those lots that are 8,000 square feet or smaller than 8,000 square feet. So I think that, I urge all of you to support this proposal. Every time we've looked at this in other parts of my district, it needs to be community driven. It needs the community to come to us and say, this is a problem, how do we solve it, and what's appropriate? So this interim control ordinance allows us to address the problem today. I know also, colleagues, that there is, on the city clerk has the updated new signatures on file that were distributed as well, and I just want to make that technical point. But this preserves property rights while addressing the community's character and preserving that character. I know we have planning staff that are here in case there are any questions, but I would urge your approval of this item today. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And, can I just one quickly? I want to thank the members of the Plum Committee. You heard this item 3 times, and I appreciate that. Mr. Reyes, Mr. Cardenas, and Mr. Weiss. Again, this was an item that has had a lot of discussion and our ability to craft something that meets the community's needs in that area. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruhl. I totally support that. And the situation is taking place, as you mentioned, citywide. I know that this ordinance that you want is going to be for a specific area, and I'd like to find out what the process is to extend it, because this process in my district, where we have these nice, quiet residential areas, we've got large lots, exactly what's happening in your community is happening in my community and maybe many other communities. We want to maintain what housing stock we have, and it's not like they're putting multiple dwellings there, they're just putting a monstrosity on that particular site. So I'd like to find out, and maybe someone from planning is here, how we can extend this out to other areas that would apply instead of just leaving it. I know your sidewalk program worked very well, the 50-50 split. You come up with great ideas, but how can we then coattail on this for some other areas? Have you looked into that, or has planning looked into that, or how can we extend that out? And also deal with neighborhood councils which have the same kind of concern.
And if Mr. President would mind, can I answer that question real quickly and not take too much of your time? We've had that discussion, and there are 2 other areas in my district, Valley Village and Valley Glen, that have an interest in adopting similar interim control ordinances. What we found is we need to create a toolbox, because in San Lintahunga, it's 4,000 square foot lots, small lots, unique to my community. In your area, it might be something different, the size of the lots, and so it has to be community driven. I know we're working with the planning department to see how we would be able to address this in other parts of the city, and I think they're willing and able, and I know they're here in the back if you want to ask them that question, but one size doesn't fit all, so it is community driven and need to probably work with your neighborhood councils, and we'd be more than happy to share with you some of our experiences and challenges in putting this ICO together.
And I know that we can't have a specific plan for each neighbor. We've got to have some general plan, and there's got to be some coordinating of efforts, and there's got to be some property right, and there's also have to be the protection of the community that are already established. In Mr. Weiss's district, we've got older communities. They want to maintain that. Larchmont Village, they don't want to see these large structures come in, but I know that I receive complaints from neighborhood councils and residents, and where we have a large parcel, then they want to subdivide that. and build a condo or an apartment, but we're talking about taking a single-family residence and just making it much larger. So for the representative of the planning department, if you can comment on that, because this is a growing problem, and it's a growing problem that's going to continue to grow until we put some regulations, and regulations that can withstand some kind of challenge, because I'm sure whatever we want to put in, someone's going to want to challenge. So if you can please respond to that and give us some direction on how to take care of this citywide.
For the record, Gordon Hamilton from the Department of City Planning. Councilman, indeed, this is a problem region-wide, but as Councilman Gruhl said, that each area is different. And in the situation we're dealing with today, we're dealing with a unique kind of lot size, which may not apply in your district or Weiss's district or some other district in the city of Los Angeles. The problem is exploiting the development potential on each of the lots. You have setbacks on the rear yard, the front yard, and in the side yards, which up until now has restricted the amount of development on these lots, and the current trend is to maximize development by expanding to the extent possible and going up, not only in the city of Los Angeles, but in Glendale, Burbank, the South Bay as well. So what we would like to do is pursue the problem in the Council District 2, take a look at what the possibilities are there. This is just an ICO. We haven't begun to start addressing the problem yet. Look at what's in the toolbox, what tools can we apply in different parts of the city, and expand from there. Be happy to meet with you, tour your part of the city, see what the special concerns you have are, and see how we can spin off from what we're doing in CD2, what might apply in your district and other districts as well.
Thank you. Also, we're instituting a similar plan in Warner Center, where the commercial, the industrial is being purchased, where it's going to become more and more residential, condos, apartments, and we have a cap at 3,000 units. So we're putting in a similar just for that Warner Center area because of the increased demand. And if we do away with the jobs and we build nothing but residents, we don't have the job housing balance. In this manner, it's a whole different focus, where we've got residential neighborhoods that have been established over a period of time. So my staff will be happy to work with you and come up with a plan for that area, because we have some large parcels which are single-family residents. We'd like to keep them in that area because our single-family resident stock seems to be removed, and fewer drives up the prices more and more. And while we keep on putting more and more people in, we still want to have a semblance of single-family residence where someone can enjoy that opportunity.
Happy to work with you, happy to follow up.
Thank you very much. And Wendy, thank you for bringing that forward.
Have next on the queue, Mr. Smith, followed by Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Reyes, and then Ms. Gruhl for a second time.
Well, thank you. I want to support Ms. Gruhl in this effort, and I'm glad Mr. Zine asked those questions. I just did this last week in Granada Hills, Old Granada Hills, and I know we've done other ones. I know Mr. Rosendaal's got some problems in Venice. So it's becoming very evident that we have a serious problem around the city as we try to preserve certain unique old neighborhoods with the pressure that's being put on us to create more housing and newer housing. But those are neighbors that want to keep the uniqueness of certain kind of communities intact, and I think that's important too. So while we have personal rights to property, we also have community rights to property, and have to preserve that. I think the question needs to be really addressed from the planning department point of view. If you're going to keep getting these kind of requests over and over, ICOs, we should have a fast-track procedure that we can go through where you just basically fill in the blanks instead of having to create individual ICOs every single time, and which goes through a lot of work. And I know, Dan, you and I went over months of working on this last one. These things take a lot of work to craft them very specifically. And so I think it would be in our best interest as a planning department to have a fast-track procedure with a very pro forma setup that we just kind of fill in the blanks and then present it to the council for quick action, and also to relieve you guys of an awful lot of time that's required to do this. So I'm glad we're having this discussion today, and I hope we'll see something back in Plum that can address this and save you guys a lot of time, the planning department a lot of time, and certainly us council members, when we run across these problems, the need to sit down and spend weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months doing these kind of processes that could be better done on all of our time if we had a fast-track procedure. So I hope we'll come back with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, Mr. President. I applaud Wendy Gruhl for putting this motion forward, and I would like you to come into the 11th District and look at some of the areas that I have concerns with. Some of my residents in the Pacific Palisades call it mansionization and blocking views of the ocean. People in Venice say it will destroy the character of Venice. People in Playa del Rey say their view of the ocean and how that's impacted is going to impact them. People in Mar Vista feel the same way. There's lots of folks in community who appreciate the community they now have. Neighborhood councils, one of the big issues they have been working on is this whole issue. So I look forward to you coming into the 11th, working with us. I'm looking forward to how Ms. Gruhl's thing goes forward. There's also the sidebar of granny apartments and how people make that work within the context of their homes. So all these issues are very serious. And if we can have clarity, my biggest issue with developers are to give them clarity on everything. Here's the facts, here's what you can do, and that's the way it will be. And that needs to be constantly vetted with community groups. And I applaud you for working on it, and I applaud my colleague for putting this motion forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Reyes.
Colleagues, last night we were at Sylmar. We had folks who raised this issue. Now, comments that came out were comments of frustration, comments of process, and credibility. Statements were made, council members, I'm glad you're here, but quite frankly, we're frustrated because every time we go to a public hearing, we bring our signatures, we have our petitions, but it looks like it's already a done deal. So one even made an allusion that there should be an analysis of the developer pumping money to different areas, then how much discretion they get in land use decisions. I mean, it's gotten to that point, it's been like that for a while, and I'm sorry to say, it's a credibility issue and how we inform people about the process. Now, while we're saying this, we just recently provided 9 positions to the planning department. All this time, they've been crippled, they've been half-funded, we've got people quitting the department because they're just tired, they've got night meetings, they've got day meetings, they don't see their families, and people are leaving. That's the state of the department now. We're looking for a planning director, but now we need to let the mayor know what our constituents are saying. I'm sure he's listening, but the bottom line is we can't expect this from a staff that is working with one hand and one leg. The body won't move that way, and it won't respond. 2 is that technical assistance for our neighborhood councils within the realm of planning principles, legal principles, would save us a lot of time, a lot of aggravation, would probably help move forward many of the procedures and processes that the planning department has to deal with. We have yet to provide the neighborhood councils and other stakeholders the ability to understand what are our legal requirements, understanding the property rights and the community rights. Those are very complicated legal issues, but just the basic planning 101 and what is a community right, a property right, is something we are lacking in, and it's something we need to factor in into our neighborhood council process and how we create support systems. The other issue, and the last one, and I'll stop after this, is that as you look at who's attending these neighborhood councils and other participatory type functions, we're not seeing the cross, can I say this, the population, we're not reflecting who lives in the city. We're not looking at the socioeconomic conditions of the whole city. So our ability to balance out these issues become tougher as a result of that. So I share this with the staff. They've been here. I'm not beating up on them. They know I've been trying hard to advocate for the department. But frankly, folks, how we move these 9 positions and who we pick as a director, and hopefully we'll pick one soon, will make a huge difference in how we are able to move these issues, because this is going to, I believe we just touched the tip of the iceberg. These ICOs are going to come in faster and harder, and how we respond is going to be based on how we support our department. Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
It was good to see the public come in during the Plum Committee on this issue. and express to us and show us pictures about what this mansionization is doing. The one thing that I'd like the public to understand, we're not talking about mansions that are 5,000 square feet or even 4,000 square feet. We're talking about a piece of land that's really small. The land itself might be 5,000 square feet. And then they want to put a 3,500 square foot home on top of it. And the way it looks is out of place. And the fact of the matter is, where's the dirt for the kids to play in? Where's the land? Where did it go? When you look at one of these lots, you look at it, you think you're looking at an apartment house. And it's really just one home in a residential single-family area. That's the problem. That's the main issue here. We zone communities for a certain reason. Along our transportation corridors, you're seeing that we're zoning them more and more to have multifamily homes, say apartments or condos or what have you. And in other areas, you'll see single-family homes, one after another after another. That's what planning is. And the problem that we have here, and the reason why I supported this in committee, and I'll support it today, is because Wendy Greuel is right. Where's the land for the families? What's the community turning into? It's inconsistent. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. It leaves the community feeling as though they don't have planning going on. So when it comes to other council members asking for this opportunity as well, I'd like to ask you, the staff, what can we do? How long do we need to watch this that we were passing in Wendy Greuel's district before we can honestly tell ourselves this is how we can take the next step and do it in other parts of Los Angeles?
Well, I'd like to respond to that, if I may. The ICO, we think this addresses a very important problem, a problem that you've just raised, and that is family housing. 2,400 square feet provides 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. And the opportunities for that to exist in other parts of the city is becoming more and more limited every day. So we're eager, we're excited about the possibility of addressing this problem in other areas. We don't have to overbuild, but we have to address the needs of the existing population and the future population. The problem, however, with this situation is that we're putting forth an ICO without the funding for the staff to actually do the work. So we have to go back and we have to look at the work program and find out who is going to actually do the work to address the same problem that exists in San Marino, as I pointed out, in other regions in the city. It is a very real problem that we in the planning department are very cognizant of. But we would be excited to pursue this further in other parts of the city. And it just all depends on what comes first. What is it that the council would like us to work on? And if the council would like us to work on this problem, we're ready, willing, and able, and excited to go forward to do that.
But one of my questions is, should we watch and see how this prevails in this area that we're talking about today in Wendy Greuel's district? Should we watch and see that for a few years, see what what happens with the developments, the push and pull of the complaints from the people who want to expand their homes? Because one of the things that we're talking about here, you have a piece of land where somebody has a 1,400 square foot house, it's the original structure, and all of a sudden they want to demo it down and then, make it 3 times as large. Right. And it looks like it doesn't fit. And then the neighbors start saying, what the heck did my neighbor do? Well, that's their land. We have strong land rights here. So how do we strike that balance? Are we ready to go forward and start to, if we were able to, the council fund it, et cetera, and to do the research and to see how we can expand it across the city, or should we look and see what happens here?
We would like to flesh out a toolbox, control the development by square feet, control the development by FAR. In this case, we're doing both, but look at the possibilities in this council district and see how they might relate to other districts as well.
Okay, good. Once again, good move, Wendy Greuel. We need to make sure that we have consistency in our communities. That's what the city does. Some people might not like it, what you're doing here, but I like it because it's the right thing to do. And not everybody's in agreement with it, but I think that once they see that this is going to play out, they're going to see that you did do the right thing. So congratulations.
I believe Mr. Reyes wanted to briefly respond to your last question, Mr.
Yes,
Cardenas.
Councilman Cardenas, I can share with you that in certain specific plans, these types of conditions already exist. For example, in the Northeast, Mount Washington's Glasshouse Park specific plan, these types of FAR controls, slope density, all of these mechanisms are in place within the context of a specific plan. What Councilman Greuel is doing is adding new language to an area that doesn't have those controls. Now, throughout the city, these types of ordinances and control measures already exist. The real issue here is process. How fast they come from our city and how quickly our staff can respond to it, which truly is the essence of the challenge here today, is will this body and will this mayor provide the funds to allow the department to process to that level of detail in every part of the city that needs that protection? Because right now it's sporadic. It's kind of like, a lottery approach. Whoever yells the hardest, the loudest from here, and pressure coming from the mayor's office, and how the department responds. It's been kind of a crapshoot because of the lack of resources. So I'm sharing with you that it's great what the Councilmember Grewal is doing. The tools are there. The real issue is implementation. And Councilman Bernstein has done a lot of work in hillside preservation, ridgeline preservation, how we look at consistency issues. The fact is the staff has not had the wherewithal to implement, and that truly is our challenge.
Ms. Grewal to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. I'm very heartened by this discussion and dialogue today because we can help one another define the problem and solve the problem of mansionization, whatever you want to call it. And I think it is important in this area, as we talked about. In this particular community, it's 8,000 square foot lots is what we're talking about, which is very different than in other parts of the city. It's a very small parcel, but it is emblematic of what's happening in other parts of the city where you would look at percentages, as indicated, 40% of the property of the square footage, or 2,400 square feet, depending upon that number. And I think that, Mr. Reyes, you are right on the issue of neighborhood councils and education about some of the things we can do and some of the things we can't do based on the law. We spend a lot of time going to our neighborhood councils and sometimes being the bearer of bad news of our limitations as a council member to change things. And we also need to make sure that they understand where the toolbox is and what tools we can create, like an ICO, like changing a specific plan. And so I think that I'd love to work with you on that issue, to be able to say, let's set up a Planning 101. I've had it for some of my leadership of Neighborhood Council, but let's have everyone come in and talk about what state law has impacted our general plan and community plan and when they disagree, and to really have a discussion because planning department, our offices, and neighborhood councils are spending a lot of time on planning issues because it is a top priority for them. It correlates with transportation issues, which with my committee and your committee, the importance of the correlation there, because a lot of times people are opposed to development because of the traffic implications that it's going to have in their area and where is it going to be placed. So I think that from this discussion, we've had not only a need to educate our neighborhood councils about planning issues and support them and have them be part of the process. All too often, people find out about something after it has occurred or too late to have their input. This ICO that is before you today in Sunland Tujunga was developed with the neighborhood council. They came to us. We sat for a year, literally, designing and developing the language for this. But there are lessons learned here, and I know, and thank you to both of you who have participated in this effort. It has not been easy, but hopefully the next one, whether it be an individual ICO or a changing a policy citywide, we have the foundation for what we want to do. So I just wanted to say thank you, colleagues, for your support today. This is a challenge and one that we need to continue to educate people about modernizing our codes, modernizing how we address the issues of planning, but most of all, creating that balance between property rights and quality of life and consistency and those neighborhoods. And thank you very much for your support today. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Grewal. There's no further speakers at this time. Let's open the roll on item 23, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, and this is an ordinance, so it will carry over for a second reading. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 24, called special by Councilmember Reyes, and there is an amending motion that has been distributed.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I rise to offer a friendly amendment. This in no way holds back the ordinance in and of itself. What this amendment does is ask for a report back to the Plum Committee in 30 days to be included as part of the report back request within the original motion. But for me, the Part B is very critical. in that I'm asking for the city attorney to include recommendations for the Information Technology Agency, the City Planning Department, and the Office of City Attorney, and the Police Department to create a unified database where the conditions of the LAPD City Attorney and Planning can view these requests, so these departments can be processing as they process the police commission permits, the land use discretionary actions, and nuisance abatement proceedings as we talk about enforcement in these related sites. What's happened in the past, colleagues, is that as the police commission and their unit review the permits where these particular establishments can be placed, we are not looking at the issue of the proximity to schools, city facilities, those types of areas that are sensitive. We've already had cases where we had fought one almost across the street from a elementary school, one across from a city facility, because of the lack of knowledge as they're being processed. It would save us millions of dollars. We now have the technology to drill down to a block-by-block level database through the systems we have in place now, but they are not coordinated. So we can get a report back on how they can move that type of coordination to have a uniform report so these departments are actually working from each other, so we don't have to go back and get into the legal trenches and end up spending millions of dollars in legal issues. So with that, I'd ask for your support and report back. It does not hold back the ordinance whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection, that's a friendly amendment. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Certainly, the Committee, Public Safety, asked for a report back, and I think that expanded report that Mr. Reyes asked for would be more than appropriate. I just would like to add one additional instruction to the City Attorney, is that since the report was made, we had a request for the ordinance to come forward that replicates La Habra, and we just asked that at the 30-day report, the City Attorney brings both of those back to committee so we can evaluate them all at one time. One thing, colleagues, on this issue, there may have been some confusion, is that moving this report today does not implement the La Habra ordinance or a distance from dancer to patron. What it does is rectify 5 issues that the police department found were difficult to enforce, and there were such things as addressing the area of the interior where the industry had begun to create a maze inside of the building as opposed to having these rooms in full view. There's also a request for fingerprinting at a specific cost. And then there's also clarity, in which many people in the industry thought because of this new ordinance they did not have to comply with ABC and a variety of other conditions. And so it's clarifying for them, and it gives the police department an opportunity to implement these while we're evaluating other issues. Also, on the report back, we asked the police department to come back and advise us as to what the community's concerns were and whether we were satisfying the issues that brought this to our attention. So that's all part of the larger global report back, and we have police department staff if anyone has any specific questions, but that was the intent of moving this forward, but with those new instructions as far as the report back.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Just wanted to second Mr. Reyes's motion. It's a friendly motion, and it's going to expedite with the main motion that we have forward, so I'm with it.
Other members wishing to speak on this item? If not, then with those friendly amendments, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved
And the ordinance goes over for 1 week.
for a second reading. I believe that's all the non-closed session items called special.
Mr. President, do you wish to recess the regular meeting and go into this special meeting?
That's where we're headed. So the regular meeting agenda is now temporarily recessed. Please call the roll on the special meeting.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The special meeting is now in session. Madam Clerk, first order of business, please.
First items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 1 through 6. On item number 6, there are 2 reports on the file. They do differ slightly. The public safety report has an additional recommendation for a report back from the CAO.
Okay, but they differ, but they're not in conflict. So colleagues, items 1 through 6 of the special meeting agenda now before us. Public hearings have been held on these items in committee. A motion from the floor be required to reopen the public hearings. Any specials? Mr. Weiss.
Call item 5 special, please.
5 call special by Mr. Weiss. Any other specials? Seeing none on the balance of the items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 7, and that is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection, item 7 of the special meeting agenda is before us today, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on this item. Public hearing is open and closed. Any members wishing to call item 7 special? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Coming back now to item 5 from the special agenda. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this item, I think it is a good idea and it's appropriate to move forward with 2 of the projects that are in the item, the Tujunga Avenue project, the Osborne Street item. On Laurel Canyon, Mr. LaBonge and I have been very focused on this, and Mr. LaBonge isn't here today. My understanding is that a problem has arisen with respect to funding for certain aspects of the Laurel Canyon repair project that we all believe is very important for key public safety reasons. Laurel Canyon's been literally crumbling, or the hillside's been crumbling into the street, and it's very dangerous, and repairs are urgently needed there. My understanding, and I don't have all knowledge of all the details, is that there have been some issues that have been raised with respect to funding that portion, the repair portion of the item. And so what I'd like to ask is if we could hold that for a week and ask Mr. Fujioka and his office, in connection with the city attorney, engineering, and any other relevant departments, to work with my office and Mr. LaBonge's office to make sure we can get funding for that back on track. And so if we could hold that, carve that out for a week, Mr. Parks? We can move it, let's move it 2 weeks. Next Friday? Sure, next Friday's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're talking that specific recommendation only. It's continued
Yes.
to next Friday. I believe that's the 5th of August. But the balance of the report is still before us. Mr. Parks? If there's nothing further, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. And that concludes the special meeting agenda. Let's now adjourn the special meeting and return to the regular meeting. Next item before us, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, do you wish to clear the desk before going into closed session?
Actually, before we do that, Mr. Rosendahl informs me there were people here to speak on item 24. It's a matter that had public hearing in committee. But colleagues, if we're okay in reopening the public comment for item 24, the council's acted on it already. But we're happy to hear from Mr. Rosendahl's constituents, Vicky Casas and Jean Shigematsu.
Good afternoon, Council. I came down to tell you first, thank you for delaying this for 2 weeks so that our community had a chance to overlook all of these additions to the ordinance. We were very happy with them. They strengthen it, they make it a little tighter than we had it, and we really appreciate that. Unfortunately, I'm sitting here and I'm not quite sure what just took place. So I know you voted on one motion which passed. Did all of the additions pass? Or does it come back again for another vote?
Mr. Parks.
The additions.
Yes.
And we've added a motion by
The
Mr.
friendly
Reyes
motion
that
of Mr.
expanded
Reyes.
a report back.
Okay.
But the issues that were brought up in public safety as far as tweaking the current ordinance is basically going forward for approval.
Okay. So will something come back for another vote from this council
In 30 days,
in 30 days?
we'll have a meeting at Public Safety.
Safety, and then it'll come back to the council.
Right. Well, the ordinance part of this, just a little rules, Council 101. When we have an ordinance, that requires either a minimum of 12 votes, unanimous, on its first reading. Anything short of that, if there's even one no vote or if we're short of 12 members, then there's a second reading a week later. On the second time around, we only need 8 votes. So because there's only 11 members present today, it was a unanimous vote, but not the minimum 12. So the ordinance will be back before the council a week from today, and at that point, you only need 8 votes. So that part is a week away.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for all of your work on this. And again, I thank you for extending it the 2 weeks for our community. Our community was extremely happy, and I think I can also speak for our North Hollywood friends and our East LA friends that they're very happy too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did Ms. Shigematsu wish to speak? Also have cards from John Weston and Stephen Afriat.
I just wanted to support my friend Vicky Casas in what happened today and to thank all of the council members for their attention. We've been working for so many years on this, and it's finally coming to some fruition. We're talking many years, not probably longer than some of the life of the council people that have been here, but I want to thank you all for your
Okay. And again, Mr. Afriat, Mr. Weston, you're welcome to come forward. The council has acted on this item already.
Mr. President, members of the council, we appreciate the council has acted on this matter. We were a little confused by Councilman Reyes' motion. We thought that the matter was coming back to Plum Committee for 30 days. As the council may remember from a year and a half ago, I represent several of the businesses that are being regulated by these proposed ordinances. A year and a half ago, after 400,000 citizens of Los Angeles signed referendum petitions, this council, through extensive negotiations with the industry, came up with an ordinance where, frankly, the industry met the council more than halfway. This being agendized a few days ago was the first time this industry was even told that new regulations were being considered. The ordinance that the council approved a few minutes ago, plus a proposed ordinance by Councilmember Cardenas, which has been referred to the Public Safety Committee, are specific items that were negotiated out of that as part of the referendum process. And we would take great exception to, number one, it happening at all, but specifically a rush to judgment about that. And we really think there needs to be some due process and consideration. We would ask that the council reconsider their action, refer this matter, along with Councilman Reyes' motion, back to the Public Safety Committee to be consolidated with the other motion that's pending so that the regulations can be looked at holistically and we can give some input into the impact on how it'll affect our businesses. We hope you will consider that. Thank you very much.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the council. John Weston, appearing in opposition to the item number 24. I echo what Mr. Afriat said a few minutes ago, and we strongly support the notion that the substantive portions of this item be sent back to committee to be heard in tandem with the proposal made by Councilmember Cardenas with respect to a thorough reevaluation of the existing compromise ordinance. I make this recommendation and request for 3 reasons. 1, on the basis of efficiency, 2, on the basis of fairness, and 3, on the basis of good faith. Efficiency because if this body is going to be reconsidering the entire compromise ordinance adopted a scant 18 months ago, then it would respectfully seem that both as a matter of good government and ease of compliance, that the entirety of the ordinance ought to be revisited as opposed to looking at it individually piecemeal, because if parts of it are adopted and then subsequently changed in 3 or 6 months, it becomes very difficult both from the enforcement perspective as well as compliance. Secondly, Mr. President, with respect to fairness, this is a piece of legislation that affects an industry. And with all respect, until last Thursday, no one knew, I should say Thursday the 14th of July, no one in connection with the industry had any idea that there were being considered changes to regulations which critically affect the industry. No one knew that. I would respectfully suggest that as a matter of fairness to the regulated groups, they ought to have some opportunity to participate to avoid the tumult and the debacle of a year and a half ago, which led to the referendum process. And lastly, Mr. President, as one who participated extremely significantly in connection with the negotiation, as a matter of simple fairness and good faith, there was a negotiated period during which a compromise ordinance was adopted in lieu of the referendum process. And now, without any notice to those people who participated in good faith in the negotiation, significant changes are wrought in that negotiation.
Okay, let me ask you to conclude here. You've made your points.
To me, epitomizes unfaith, a lack of good faith, sir. So I would suggest that as a matter of both good government, fairness, and good faith, that this matter ought to be kicked back to committee to be studied in tandem to give the industry and those who participated in good faith negotiations the opportunity to have some input. Thank you, Mr. President.
And colleagues, again, the council has acted on this item already. For those interested in revisiting the item, what would be in order is a motion for reconsideration. Otherwise, the ordinance itself has not been finally adopted. It's back on our council agenda 1 week from today. So we have time if there's a change of heart. Mr. Rosendahl?
Mr. President, I would like the city attorney. This is confusing what I'm hearing. This was a public meeting a few weeks ago where I asked the ordinance to be continued for 2 weeks so that my community could input it. So it was public record. This isn't a last-minute situation, right?
This has been noticed for public hearing weeks ago in committee and in council 3 weeks ago. It was in council.
So then what the last speaker said is not the facts.
I'm not exactly sure what the last speaker was referring to.
Okay, neither was I. So I just want to make sure that the ordinance that we're going to bring before us for 12 votes next week was vetted and was public and has been out there for quite a while.
In our opinion, it's complied with the Brown Act and due process.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Madam Clerk, next time. Mr. Cardenas.
Clarification, Mr. President. When it comes back next week, what's the required votes?
8 votes.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, I do wish to clear the desk before going into closed session.
Let's do housekeeping.
Council has motions for posting and referral,
Motion shall be posted and referred.
and that clears the desk for closed session.
Okay. In conformance with California law, the council will now adjourn into closed session. Sergeants, please clear the chambers. Welcome back into open session. Madam Clerk, next item before us, please.
That clears the desk, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, this is the end of our agenda today. Do we have any announcements? Announcements, colleagues? Ms. Perry.
Yes. Let's see, I have work to do for myself and for Mr. Parks today. I'll do Mr. Parks first. He wanted me to announce the Keep It Moving Southern California Conference Branch Women's Missionary Society AME Church 5th Episcopal District 5K Walk Health Focus Expo, Saturday, July 30th, Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw Plaza. Registration at 7 a.m., walk begins at 8, and the health focus will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sears Court lower level. Next event in CD8, everyone is welcome to celebrate 50 years in real estate, Lifetime Achievement Gala for Deloy Edwards, Saturday, July 30th, 12 p.m. at the Proud Bird, 11002 Aviation Boulevard. And since we're not going to meet this Friday, I wanted to take this opportunity to invite everyone to the 10th Avenue, let me turn this around for the camera, Central Avenue Jazz Festival. This festival will take place this weekend, July 30th and 31st, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Central Avenue and 42nd. Each year, over 25,000 people come to this event. It includes great food, live music, arts and crafts, and of course, our own Central Avenue Farmers Market. We have an incredible lineup of artists, including Jazz on the Latin Side All-Stars and the Art Davis Quintet with Oran Coltrane. If you would like more information on the artistic lineup, please call 473-2304. And there is a postcard on everyone's desk commemorating this event, and we are going to have a big celebration and an anniversary cake. So I hope all of you will stop by.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just ask that we send out our well wishes to the number 2 draft choice of the Lakers, Ronnie Terioff, who underwent 6 hours of surgery yesterday. Everyone expects him to fully recover. As we know, he was the number 37th pick overall in the draft and really is confronted with a very serious health problem.
Other announcements, colleagues? If not, then another announcement for the residents of the Sylmar area. We were host to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee last night at Mission College. Tonight, the Sylmar Neighborhood Council is hosting a town hall. Come one, come all, bring your issues, and come be heard, participate in the Neighborhood Council. Town hall begins tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Sylmar High School. Do we have any adjourning motions today? Would you all please rise for adjourning motions? Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. It's with great sadness that I adjourn in memory of Bert Goodman. He passed away last Saturday at the age of 70 after a long battle with cancer. He was born in New Haven, Connecticut on February 18, 1938, but spent the last 55 years in Los Angeles, living in the Valley and the West Side. Bert made his living as a CPA, working for the last 10 years for former Senator Alan Cerroti. For many years, Bert was a working member of Screen Actors Guild, having appeared in countless movies and television shows, including a long stint as a regular on America's Funniest People. Above all else, Bert will be remembered as a kind, loving parent, a grandfather, and a friend who loved surrounding himself with those he loved and the shared gift of laughter with all of them. He's survived by his wife, 48 years, Sunny Goodman, sons Keith and Kenny Goodman, daughters Kelly Goodman and Karen Forsberg, and many grandchildren who he adored, and was a close friend of my executive scheduler, Jen Heater, and I know that she shares with me in giving our condolences to the family today. Thank you.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Lois Jean Cole, a resident of the 8th District who was recently fatally shot near the corner of 94th and Western. She was waiting for the bus when a stray bullet hit her. According to LAPD reports that there was a gang member shootout in the immediate area. The constituents of the 8th District, along with the City Council, certainly adjourned in her memory. Funeral services are held today at Inglewood Mortuary. She's survived by 2 brothers and a sister.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 adjourning motions. The first would like to adjourn in memory of Ralph Prater, who was the founder of the college that later became Cal State University in Northridge. He passed away Monday at the age of 97 in his home in Camarillo. Prater worked for 30 years as a college and university administrator, including 10 years as president of the San Fernando Valley State College, which was the first name of Cal State Northridge. When the college became Cal State Northridge in 1972, Prater oversaw the construction of the first permanent buildings, expanded enrollment from 3,500 to 16,000 students, and spearheaded major acquisitions that assembled most of what is today's 356-acre campus. Prater's dedication and vision played a major role in CSUN's current success. Memorial donations may be made to CSUN Women's Club, Lois and Ralph Prater Scholarship Fund. May Ralph Prater rest in peace.
All members.
Thank you. The second one is for John, or Jack Smith, as he was known, who passed away at the age of 75 on Sunday. Jack was the son of James Smith, who was a survivor of the attack on Pearl Harbor, a Navy family man. Jack was born in in San Pedro, California, and moved to Van Nuys, where he grew up, went to Birmingham High School, later became a very active member for many years of the Mid-Valley YMCA. I know Jack very well. Although his name is Smith, he is really from my wife's side of the family. He is my wife's uncle. And actually, there's more Smiths on my wife's side of the family than my own side of the family. He's survived by his wife Pat, children Vicky, Jody, and Tim. Jack was a truly nice, dear man, and I will miss him, as all the family will.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned. And as a reminder, the council will not meet this Friday. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday.